From the iShin Broadcast Studio, it's the Tool Time Podcast.
Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of the Tool Time Podcast. I'm Nadine Batat and I'm the editor of Tech Shop.
And I'm Eric Garba, ASE Certified Master Automobile Technician.
Eric, welcome back to the studio.
Thanks, Nadine. Glad to be here.
We have been nonstop in the studio, but I am loving it. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Today's guest, we've got Denzel Lall, Technical Training Specialist for Continental Automotive Systems Incorporated.
Awesome.
I think it's going to be a very insightful conversation. Obviously, Continental is huge in our industry, so let's just go ahead and dive right in. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Denzel, thank you again for joining us today, and let's just go ahead and get started. Now, you don't hear the name Continental without thinking tires, but can you give us a little bit of history about how long Continental has been developing their TPMS systems?
Absolutely. So Continental, we began developing TPMS products in 1998, and then we became an established OE supplier of direct TPMS systems in North America right around 2003, model year 2004 for vehicles. And then around 2005, we began supplying a VDO branded OE TPMS replacement to the automotive aftermarket. And then around 2010 is when we released our multi-application TPMS sensor, aftermarket sensor, the Ready sensor in 2010.
So when talking about TPMS, to kind of kick things off, can you talk to us a little bit about the differences between TPMS relearns and TPMS programming?
Yeah, that's actually one we get, quite a bit of confusion out there. So the big difference is when you program a TPMS sensor, generally you have a blank sensor. And so when you trigger it or you're programming it with the actual tool, you're setting the protocol for the vehicle that you're working with onto that blank sensor. So then once that sensor is programmed, it's only going to basically be able to be used for that vehicle, but you basically have programmed it because it was a blank sensor. As far as the relearn goes, basically that just means that, again, the sensor generally is already programmed to whatever specific vehicle that you have, but then you're learning a new sensor ID or a new sensor location. So obviously when you install a new sensor, the vehicle needs to learn a new sensor ID, but you would also perform a relearn anytime you do a rotation where the vehicle's position as far as air pressure goes are displayed to the customer or to the driver, and you want to make sure that what they're seeing is actually correct.
Very cool.
Cool. A couple of different parts to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Continental Autodiagnos TPMS tools?
Yeah, so our Continental, we have basically two Continental Autodiagnos TPMS tools. We have the TPMS D and the TPMS SE. So the TPMS D is basically a full-blown TPMS diagnostic tool. It obviously works with the Ready sensor, and what sets the Autodiagnos tool apart from other tools that are available out on the market is this tool has auto configuration technology, which basically means as far as our product goes, the Ready sensor, when you go to install the sensor, rather than having to go to a special menu or a different menu pathway, you basically makes the sensor a plug and play. So you should be able to install the sensor into the vehicle and do the vehicle relearn, whatever is required from the OE manufacturer. But as far as the tools go, the TPMS-D is basically a full-blown TPMS diagnostic tool. So you're able to read codes and clear codes as far as TPMS codes go. For vehicles that it's available, you're able to do placard adjustments. So for any of those oversized fitments or low pros, if the manufacturer makes it available, then you can go in and adjust the pressures. It works with OE, the Ready sensor, and I believe as of right now, last I checked, it was 34 different aftermarket sensors. So you're not locked into having to use one sensor brand. You have the ability, and for those various cases where one sensor company doesn't have maybe coverage for one brand, then you have the ability to use other brands, so you're not locked into that one specific brand. And then as far as the TPMS SE, I always like to say or give the definitions. It's a little bit more of a watered down version of the D, just because it doesn't have the full-blown diagnostic capabilities of the D, but it does do your standard TPMS service, and it's a entry-level low-cost tool that's able to work with OE, the Ready sensor, and then the Schrader Easy sensor. So again, you're not locked into one specific brand, and you have the ability to, with all the, I guess, part numbers or brands that the tool works with, you're able to basically service all vehicles.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
That's awesome. Great to know. So lots of different options, Nadine, for service.
Definitely.
And you're not. And if you use the Ready sensor, it sounds like you've got the highest level of efficiency of getting right in there and getting the job done.
Right.
But for all the OE sensors and aftermarket, I mean, it's pretty much all there.
Definitely.
Yeah. On the subject of scan tools, Denzel, can you talk about the importance of regular updates and how this can affect your efficiency?
Absolutely. So, working on the technical side, I feel like this is a lot of where problems to stem from. Basically, for an update, I always like to give the analogy. It's kind of like cell phones, right? Everyone generally has a cell phone, and there's usually two big companies out there. You either have an Android-based phone or you have an Apple-based phone. Mm-hmm. And with the phone manufacturers, right, they're always sending out updates to fix any kind of bug glitches or any type of security things, or if there's specific apps you like to use. In order to continue to use those apps, you have to update with newer technology. Basically, it's to make the programming run more smoother or efficient within your phone. So it's kind of the same thing with TPMS. So TPMS as a whole, there's generally 4 quarterly updates every year. And with each update, they're going to add in, obviously, for any newer fitments or any newer cars that are on the road, those will be covered. If there was any bugs or glitches from an OE level, so sometimes when they'll release an update, some people, depending on the vehicle, there might be an issue with how the TPMS tool is talking to the sensors, and that would be fixed within an update. Also included in an update, there would be for any of the aftermarket TPMS manufacturers out there, dependent on the product, whether there was a product update or they changed something in their product, that would be included. And then generally there's a section of various just minuscule things with updating, but it's so important to update your TPMS tool, just because particularly if there was if you use a certain brand or product, or if you're working on a very specific vehicle and those updates were provided and you basically haven't updated your tool in a while, it can cause a lot of issues or bind ups when you have a vehicle in the bay. And that's something that you want to kind of prevent, especially with something along the lines of TPMS, where it should be kind of simple and a quick process in order to get your customer back on the road.
Absolutely. Such a great point, because I know it's a big problem in the field.
I always hear about those updates and how important they are. So thank you for expanding on that, Denzel. Now, what different types of sensors does Continental offer?
So Continental, we offer, since Continental is an OE supplier to the manufacturers, in terms of aftermarket wise, we offer OE direct replacement, so sensors that are be one-to-one, so be programmed for a specific vehicle. And then we also offer our Ready sensor lineup, which we have 4 SKUs. We have 2 snap-in style and 2 clamp-in style. And basically those give the ability to replace over 300 plus OE sensors. And then with the Ready sensor, it can replace your clamp-in, snap-in, and banded with coverage that exceeds at least 300 million vehicles in operation. And that covers, I would say, years 2002 to 2024 and beyond.
That's awesome. That's quite a bit of coverage.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm kind of throwing this one in there, Denzel, just something that came to mind. Do the Autodiagnos TPMS tools, do they have any different type of communication with some of the Continental Autodiagnos scan tools, like the full function scan tools?
In terms of connectivity, the TPMS tools don't have any type of connectivity as far as connecting wirelessly to a diagnostic tool. The tools themselves, as far as the TPMS-D, that does have wireless connectivity as far as doing over the Wi-Fi updates. But as far as like connecting to, I would say, like, let's just say you had like a Snap-on tool or some type of diagnostic tool that you would plug into a vehicle. I wouldn't say there is no actual connectivity with the tool in itself to that diagnostic tool.
So Denzel, what advantages do Continental TPMS sensors offer to shops and technicians?
I would say the biggest advantages is I always like to say in this business, time is money. And so generally speaking, if you were able to put something in the car and be able to do less step processes in order to complete the job. So in this case, when we're talking either TPMS, there's a couple ways you can get a TPMS sensor to work with a vehicle in terms of whether you're going to program the sensor or if you're going to clone the sensor. So basically taking all those steps out, you have less room for error, but also the simplicity of working just like a direct fit part rather than it being universal. You know that it's directly going to fit with the vehicle. And in those cases, it's going to make bay times go down. It's going to be more efficient, less error. So in the end, you're going to be saving some time. So you're going to be saving some money.
Denzel, this was very insightful. Thank you so much. I think we covered a lot today, and there's a lot in your portfolio with Continental, from tires to TPMS to sensors. So thank you again. This was very, very helpful.
Yeah, thanks for guys having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep, excellent information. Very cool.
Wow, another excellent episode, Eric. What do you think?
That was awesome. That was great. I love TPMS systems. I didn't say that years ago, but they are great. They are fantastic systems, and a ton of great information from Denzel about the Continental systems.
Absolutely. And I think it's a huge deal that Continental is doing what they can to help make things quicker, easier, more efficient for these technicians at these shops so that they can see more success. So I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks again, Eric, for joining me, and thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.